I'm sorry it took me so long to record the next video. I started this new job. Everything's been fucking full throttle for over a week now. So it's been crazy. I have been up here. I have been working on things. I have actually recorded some of it, but I keep on running into the same roadblock of not having the correct tool. So every time I would not have the correct tool, I would write it down and then move on to the next thing and then run into another thing where I don't have the correct tool. So today I made a big tool order, a few $100 in tools, little bits and bobs, and then once I do that, I'll be able to properly record a bike. So there's a couple bikes I started on and just haven't quite finished. And I'll probably just crank those out and get those listed. But I do have a lot of good project bikes set aside for recording. I didn't do blow my load and just work on fucking everything. And so that's going to be coming soon. I keep on running into that same roadblock. Another thing is that there's certain soft goods, mostly on bicycles, that it's really hard to source used, like grips. Grips are a fucking pain in the ass. It's just, they're not that expensive. Just buy a whole bunch of them, brand new, because trying to find a good set of matched used grips is a pain in the ass. So that's what I've been kind of working on. I had that going away party and I set up, I had them all drawn on the wall and everything, so I think that looks pretty good. It looks great. And they all everybody has something to say on there, and every time I think about it or I look up there, I see the individual in it, so it's really nice. And they said some really nice things. So I've been setting up the pegboard and working on bikes, and I've actually been crashing here. So been going a little crazy, honestly. It's been a lot of fucking hard work, and none of it you can see. So you can choose to believe me or think I'm full of shit, but it has been pretty crazy. I can always look back on it and always think I can use my time more efficiently, of course, but there's only so much you can do. There's only so many hours in the day, and some of those days, fuck man, I gotta go for a bike ride or have a little bit of fun, go out drinking or hang out with friends or whatever. Can't just be all work and no play. So today is another picking video. Someone practicing locksmith that I know in real life, he has always been curious in the way that I've been able to pick Schlages to control. It is a potentially very valuable thing. Haven't really seen too much of it on YouTube. I don't really know what's out there on this particular subject, but it's just something I was kind of fucking around with one day, and it just sort of popped out on me, so I practiced it. That's one thing about this technique, is it takes a lot of practice. A shitload of practice. You really got to know what you're doing inside of there, know exactly where you are inside of the lock. If you're not in the exact depth that you need to be, then you're never going to get that open. If your pick is angled wrong, then you're not going to get it out. Another important disclaimer is it only works efficiently on very particular functions of locks. So let's just say we have a mortise case, right? The one's mortised out the door, and it just has a cylinder that looks like this, because this is what we're going to be working with, right? So if it's a classroom function or an entry function, you don't have a problem. If it's a storeroom function, basically any function where you can turn the key at least 180 degrees in any direction, then you're good. Then you can pick it to control, no problem. If you're working with some, like a storeroom function where you only really turn the key about 90 degrees, then you have to pick it open, get yourself in, but then you need to take out the cover plate, undo the set screw, and unwind that mortise cylinder so that it's like this, so that's in your hand. And then you're able to freely rotate this tailpiece, because this tailpiece is engaging with the locking mechanism. So when this can rotate freely, then you can turn it to 180 degrees. The important part is getting the keyway to 180 degrees. I'm going to try to pick it with regular picks first. If not, then I'm going to leash it. By the time you leash it, then you can cut a control key, you can make a control key, but also if everything is keyed differently, then sometimes it still is more efficient to actually just pick it to control than it is to cut a key to control to work that one lock, and then you go on and decode another one and make another key. And those control key blanks are always in limited supply in a locksmith van. Sometimes you just have to straight up make one out of a regular key blank. They're also expensive, so it all depends. That's the thing with locksmithing, is it's always very situational. Everything is always changing. There's a million different variables. So, but just in terms of like just fucking around with stuff, it's fun to know. I mean, it's good to know. It's always a good thing to know. So, I did actually hard mount my vise, so I'm gonna be picking in my hand today. I'm gonna go to Harbor Freight soon enough and go buy another, like a cheap ass little vise, just so that I can clamp things up. Or I might splurge for one of those nice, Panda vices, the picking vices that you see all of the YouTubers use, all the popular ones. So let me just bring you guys around, angle you down. I still got that American. I've been working on it. I did rekey it. I put the 6th pin in there. Let's see. You guys can see okay. I'm gonna try to kind of rake it or rock it first and see if I get lucky real quick. But that kind of calls for bottom of the keyway, so let's do bottom of the keyway. Oh, I bumped you guys, sorry. Bumped you guys again. You're right up in my business. Nothing. Let's try this one. Nothing. I'm going to hold tension because I might have some progress, but then I'm going to continue with some single pin picking. One, 2, and 6 are chilling. 6 is a really deep cut. 5 is chilling. 4 needs to be picked. 4 is chilling. 3, 2. That's the control pin. That's 6. That was 3 that just clicked. Let's overset 1. See, if I were to use my leash, it would have been open by now. So it's always just tempting to just grab that. Like, I always want to grab that at every opportunity and not even bother with this, but it's really important to know, and it kind of keeps the sport in the game, you know? So I'm going to give myself 3 more minutes. So that means change up. Time to change it up. Take a different approach and see what I can get out of it. Where's that other pick? This one. 6. Nothing. 5. Nothing. 4. 3. 2. 1. Actually, I'm going to try something even more different. This is a 12 thousandths. You can't read it because I put some heat shrink over it, but it's 12 thousandths. And what's cool about this pick is that I can pick directly off the bottom. So I think I'm dealing with an extreme bidding situation here. I know it's close. I am out of time here, but okay, I'm out of time. That was really damn close, but not quite there. Let's just leashy it, because this is the main point of the video. So I'm just kind of going through and checking them all. They should be unlocked right about anytime now. There we go. One more. There it is. Okay. So now it's at 90 degrees. Right? You're going to want this guy at 180 degrees so that the drivers drop into the bottom of the keyway. And then just go like that. Nice and simple, right? Not so much. There's a lot going on in that. Beer break. So this pin right here, that is the control device. That's the mechanism right there. So you're going to want to go like that and activate that. And the reason why you want it in 6 o'clock is because give me just a sec. Get out of there. There we go. Is because this ring right here, sorry, that silver ring, that is the whole locking, that's the control mechanism. You see when I rotate that, it moves the pin slightly, but not all the way, because it's not grabbing it properly, basically. So what's the solution here? Or what's really going on here? Let me follow this out. So, if you look at that seventh pin right there, that last pin, that's your IC pin. They're all the same across all Schlage IC cores. They're like basically a 5-cut, but you can see it's offset slightly to the left of everything else, and it's much narrower in diameter. That guy. So you can see it's not in perfect line with the rest of them. That's because when you turn a control key, it only goes about 15 degrees. That pin needs to line up with this guy. So there's this notch right there. That pin needs to go into that notch. Sorry, you can't see jack shit. That notch right there. And that pin needs to line up with that notch and hit this green little driver pin. Once this driver pin is lifted to the correct height, and that pin is able to engage that ring and rotate it properly, then that little green pin goes into that hole right there, and it will move it. There is a little check to it that you need to lift up. See, this whole thing is actually spring-loaded down, and there's a mechanical blocker. Unless you push it up and over, then it won't ever go all the way in. It needs to go up towards the top of the core and over. Better pick for this. Up towards the top of the pin and over, like that. Then it goes in. Otherwise, it only goes a little bit. So what you're doing by turning it to 6 o'clock is you're allowing this green driver to stay down. And I use a half diamond. Grab that pick. I use a half diamond because it will engage that pin and it's going to grab this notch. So that way I'm able to push that pin up. You can call this a driver pin basically. Let's call this the control driver. So you're able to lift the control driver to the correct height, and you're able to engage this ring and rotate it. And because this is kind of a wide profile pick, you're able to grab the whole keyway with the rest of the lock. Because remember, this is all the way in the back. So you're able to grab the whole keyway and rotate it properly. And the way that a Schlage is shaped, let me take another one apart. See, I was actually almost prepared this time. I should have taken the back off of this one first though. So, you can see, that's my pick right there, the one that's moving. Hitting that pin and rotating it over. But the way that I'm holding this pick as well, I have to hold it perfectly parallel. Let me bring you guys up some so I have some space to work. I'm holding this perfectly parallel to everything else. It's staying flat. I shoved the whole thing up against. And if you look at the way the bottom of the keyway, this is difficult. So the bottom of the keyway wants to be slightly, if you're looking at it like this, you want it to be slightly counterclockwise. When it's slightly counterclockwise, it's going to allow this guy to engage properly. You see how it's offset slightly? So you can bypass that by rotating your pick slightly counterclockwise, and then it wants to slide up into that notch, no problem. So that's what I mean by you really got to know what's going on inside of the lock and where you are inside of the lock. Because if the tip of that pick is not grabbing the keyway properly, like the entire keyway, and if it's not engaging that driver pin properly, and if it's not grabbing that notch in the, I call it the control ring, that silver ring, then you're not going to get it to control. So you need all those three things to work perfectly, and you got to practice with different picks. I found my pick. I'm lucky I found my pick. That's this one. It's from fucking the Reflections set from Sparrows. That comes with this. This is actually technically a single hump rake, but it's basically a half diamond. You know, you can see the profile is a half diamond. It just has this cutout in the bottom. So that just seems to work really well for me, but there's going to be other people who might prefer a J-hook, right? And there's going to be other people that prefer fucking whatever else, you know, like a fucking Bogota rake. It's just really going to vary. So you need to practice and experiment. You know, just get open. You can shim open a lock, or a lock that you have a key for, and you can gut it and then reinsert it and take the key out and reinsert it upside down, so that you can keep that lock in that 6 o'clock position and just try different picks. You know, you can take off the back, and just so that you can really see what you're doing. I did it the hard way because I never went through that process. But basically what I would do is I would take a lock exactly like this, upside down with the back off. And I would try different picks, and I would look inside like this and I would take a pick and I would look exactly at what I'm doing. If I had to do it again and I had somebody who would tell me that this is what's going on with it, like that's how I would practice it, is because that way you can see and understand exactly what's going on. You're not flying blind. But basically the goal is to lift that little green pin up into the control bar, that little spring-loaded pin that secures it into cylinder, and to grab that silver ring while that pin is lifted and rotate the whole thing so that you can pull it out. So if you can do that, especially when the core is out, then you're gonna have a lot better time than trying to figure out blind, either on a job or, you know, if you're just a lock sport or hobbyist, just trying to frustrate yourself basically. Take baby steps, take a cylinder, put it upside down like that, take the back off, look at what you're doing and try small changes, and, you know, scientific process, change small variables until you have a success, and then you can see where you can improve on that success and make it more efficient. You know, there were some days where I was picking out like constantly, like all fucking day, just picking to control. And by the end of the day, I was pulling the control first try, just over and over and over and over again. And so, like, especially when I'm like really well practiced at it, I can get really fast. But that's because I practiced a lot beforehand and I knew the concept and I knew the idea. You know, if you try to do this out in the field in a stressful situation when someone's over your shoulder and you're trying to learn this, then it's not going to be so fun. So you really got to, you know, if you got any free time, just practice it and fuck with it, because it's important to do things in a controlled environment before you go out and start flying around and everything and really just flying by the seat of your pants. Let's see, I talked about the bikes. I'm rebuilding a drill press right now. It's kind of a shitty one. I basically just gotta rebuild it and just cut up an extension cord and use that for power. So that's nothing that's too special. I have a whole bunch of other tools that I just don't have here yet. I've been slowly moving things over. Tonight's gonna be a real tedious task of sorting bolts and shit, so I'm not gonna take you along for that one. But I thought you might find Schlage ICs really interesting because they're so awesome. They're like a locksmith's best friend, man, because they're so straightforward. You know, they're so easy to work on and everything. So, but if you don't have a key for them and no existing key, drilling them out is a bitch. It's a pain in the ass. You have to cut off the tip of a control key, shove it in the back, drill the pins, turn it, and hopefully you get it to the control position. But if you know how to pick them or leash them, and you can get that to control, not only do you save the cylinder, but you save a lot of time. So it's very important to know. Anyways, I'll leave it at that. I'll see you when I see you, I guess.